Hi, I'm Paul Guppy. I'm Vice President for Research at the Washington Policy Center, and this is our regular update about what's going on at the Policy Center, exciting things that have happened with us, the issues that we're working on, and then what we see coming up in the next several weeks and months. So first off, I think I'd point out something that happened in the news just earlier this week, that Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, visited Seattle. She did a kind of photo op event in front of an electric school bus and really promoted the idea that electric school buses are the wave of the future and that the federal government can help pay for these. So that's where some of our education dollars are going to go. In a timely way, Todd Myers, our analyst on environmental issues, crunched the numbers and discovered that the school district would be spending $13 million on school buses. I think that's actually across the state. And that would be spending basically $200 to reduce 1 ton of carbon emissions for the environment. As Todd pointed out, a typical environmental project that reduces carbon emissions costs about $10 per ton reduced. So this electric school bus idea is 20 times more expensive than doing some other project that benefits the environment. So he points out that it's extremely wasteful. And that electric school bus costs about $450,000, whereas a regular diesel bus to upgrade it would be about $150,000. So again, spending 2, 3, 4 times as much money, resources on something that looks cool and sexy, makes a great photo op for the vice president visiting our area, but in terms of helping the environment does basically nothing, or costs very much more. But the other thing that was concerning about this is that the state is going to use federal COVID funds to pay for these buses, and that money is supposed to help students catch up in the learning loss that happened because of this long school shutdown. So from a policy point of view, you may think electric school buses are great, they're cool, get your picture taken next to them, it makes news all across the region, but it does absolutely nothing to help students learn and catch up in their education from what they lost during COVID. So we were the only organization that pointed that out. We were on the media, on radio, just providing a counterbalance to what the vice president was talking about in our area. And picking up on that, Lieve Finna, our education expert, did further research into the hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID money that the state has received and what is happening with that. So Washington State has $1.6 billion in COVID relief funds coming from the federal government. And that money is going to be poured into school districts or existing programs or to increase teacher salaries, negotiated with the union. It's kind of just going into the whole system. What Lieve pointed out when she looked through all the different ways this money is going to be spent is that there was one word that she didn't see, and that was parents. So no aid is going to go directly to parents to access tutoring or online resources or extra education learning for their kids. By Lieve's calculation, if the government provided direct aid to families, they could provide $1,500 for every family, per student, that is, to get direct aid to help kids catch up on learning. None of that direct aid is going to happen in this state. Again, as Lieve has pointed out, other states are providing direct aid, and a breakthrough has happened in Arizona, where the legislature there passed a universal school choice bill that starts this year. They also have a very tight governor's race there, so the outcome of the governor's race will determine whether this program is protected in the future. But in terms of the structure of the program, it gives direct assistance to any Arizona family that asks for it, so that they can make school choices that are best for their kids. That is a model that we are promoting here in our state as well. Another issue we're tracking, as always, is the income tax that the legislature imposed 2 years ago. That is being challenged in court as being unconstitutional. Jason Mercier, who's tracking that very closely, has notified us that a hearing before the state Supreme Court is scheduled in January. We will be following that very closely. But more of an insider view is that starting in mid-December, Jason will be providing numbers and research to the legal team that will be arguing that hearing later on in January. So we'll be part of that. In the meantime, Jason's hound dog detective work has discovered that the Department of Revenue is already going through an internal rulemaking process to create regulations to collect this unconstitutional income tax starting on April 15th. And Jason asked them directly, do you have any plans to stop creating regulations and enforcement to collect this tax. And the answer back from the department, as you would expect, was we have no plans to stop. We are moving forward under the direction of the governor to collect this tax, even though a lower court has already ruled that it's unconstitutional, and it's very likely, we're hopeful, that the Supreme Court will see the same thing and strike down the tax. That's not stopping the enforcement agency from going forward. So that's creating a lot of concern for people who have to plan to possibly pay this tax. And we'll be following that as well. And another issue is Mark Harmsworth, our small business person, did an analysis of taxes in Seattle. No surprise, found that Seattle has the highest business taxes in the state, some of the highest in the country, as a matter of fact. But what Mark did was match that with the rate of recovery in downtown Seattle after the COVID shutdown. Downtown Seattle is hollowed out. It is still less than 50% of the people going downtown every day pre-COVID compared to today. And as Mark is pointing out, maybe there's a connection between the high tax level, the fact that people can now work from home, companies are shifting to home work, and the how expensive it is in Seattle, particularly the head tax on high income workers that Seattle imposed a few years ago. So it makes sense. You add all that together. If you're a company and you can work a way for your professionals to work from home, why not do that rather than coming downtown? And it's kind of a back to the future effect. If you've been to downtown Seattle recently, it's starting to look like it did during the mid 1970s, when recessions, energy crisis, and kind of urban problems across America were causing traditional downtown areas to basically hollow out. Public leaders worried about it at the time, about what to do about it. The 1980s brought recovery and things improved. Looks like we're going through that same cycle now. Downtown, and the Seattle Chamber tries to put a happy face on it, but it's just not as vibrant. It doesn't feel as safe. There's a lot of graffiti, a lot of trash and litter, and it really looks like the way downtowns across the country looked in the late 1960s and 70s when American cities were struggling. I think we're back into that phase right now. We'll see how that goes. Looking ahead, our new Viewpoint magazine is out. So many of you maybe will see that in the mail. That's looking really good. We also had a very fun, successful dinner. We appreciate everybody who attended in Bellevue. Yeah, that event was sold out once again, as it is every year. Chris Rufo and Mike Pompeo addressed the crowd. But the nice thing coming out of all the COVID shutdowns, all the restrictions, all the mandates, is that the event, we had no restrictions. Those aren't required anymore. And at the Hyatt Hotel in Bellevue, people had really a lot of fun. And what's kind of humorous is that, I mean, it's great, is that our formal event ends and people just don't leave. They stay in the ballroom, they're socializing, and then we have an after party as well with live music. So it was a good time, and it was great to get back together with everybody. Next, we are getting ready for committee organizing days in the legislature. That will be on December 1st and 2nd. Like everyone else, we are looking at the outcome of the election in November. We'll see how that changes the makeup of the legislature, and then we'll start preparing in December for the legislative session. There are a series of initiatives to the legislature that are being circulated right now for signatures across the state. We're going to be writing a series of analysis about those, describing what those proposals would do. No state income tax, funding the police, empowering the police to fight crime, property tax cut, and a number of others, education reform. And then lastly, we're very excited on November 1st is Todd Myers's new book is coming out called Time to Think Small. We're doing a launch event in Bellevue, and the book is already available for pre-order on Amazon. So if you're interested, take a look at that. Time to Think Small by Todd Myers. And that's our update for now, and I'll be back for more in the future. Thanks.